Hello everybody, my name is Dominic Desiderioscioli and I'm with Nico Connection. Today I have a very special guest who has a well-accomplished career in the retail industry for over 25 years. He has spent his time working for Fortune 500 companies such as Disney, Toys R Us, and more recently Ulta Beauty. He has recently become an entrepreneur and has started his own business and is the founder and CEO of Rock and Roll Beauty. Here's my guest, Paul Desiderioscioli. Thank you for coming in today to share some of your life experiences that you've had.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Before we get started with your work life today, can we take a step back and could you tell us some of the important events that you've experienced, such as how you chose your major?
Sure. So before I get to my college, I want to just touch briefly on high school and that I wasn't very engaged in high school. In fact, I graduated high school with a 2.2 GPA, which I think is like a C minus. But as a result, I did not get into a lot of colleges of my choice. I think I only applied to 3 or 4 of them. My mother at the time was a professor at a college, and she knew that if I started part-time and matriculate to full-time, I was able to do that. So I spent 5 years in college, and one thing I could tell you in terms of picking my major, I was going through the curriculum list to decide which majors did not require a lot of math classes because I wasn't a big fan of math, and ultimately business became top of the list, so I ultimately went with the business major.
Could you give advice to any students that are going to be applying to colleges in the coming years?
Yeah, so I guess first thing I would say is, try and pick a major and try and pick a school that you're happy to go to. Don't do things that you don't want to do. Try to have fun in what you're doing. If you're not having fun, you probably shouldn't be doing it. So that's first off. The other thing I would say is while you're in college, definitely try to get some real life experience. And what I mean by that is really do some internships. While I was in college, my first internship I did was at Disney World in Orlando, which was a life-changing experience for myself. And then I also did an internship at CBS television sports marketing in Manhattan. So I would go into Manhattan once a week to kind of learn what a corporate structure was all about in marketing.
After you did your 5 years at college, what was your plan on getting a job, or maybe just your plan in general after?
So because I did that Disney internship, I really had this love affair with the Disney company, and I thought I was going to work for Disney for the rest of my life. I wound up doing that program for 3 summers in a row. I actually graduated college. It took me 5 years, but that's okay. And went back down to Disney to work my last summer. I was making $5.30 an hour, which was minimum wage at the time. And the intent was to network and try and find some sort of job within Disney. I wound up coming back I was in New Jersey at the time, and got a job with the Disney stores. And I worked there for about 1.5 years as a store manager, really getting experience in retail, but this was in the actual store. And I quickly realized that I didn't want to spend the rest of my career in the store. So I wound up, through a fraternity brother, handing my resume into Toys R Us and getting an entry-level job at Toys R Us.
Wow, both Disney and Toys R Us. Those both sounds like very fun places to work, even as a grown-up. Can you tell us about your times at Toys R Us?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I started kind of entry level. I was there for 18 full years, which is a lot of time to work in one place. And I started as a buyer assistant, which is the entry level position to learn about merchandising. Within 2 years, I got promoted to an allocator. That was really learning about the inventory, how important it is, making sure you order the right amount, sending it to the stores. From there, it turned into a planning job, and that was more about financials, learning about budgets, learning about profit and sales goals, those type of things. And then I made the jump back to the buying team. I was a buyer and then a senior buyer for about 8 years. And that's when I really started making a name for myself and where the senior management was starting to really take a look at what I was doing. Right after that, I became a vice president. I ran a division for about 4 to 5 years. And then I say it was the best day of my life because my position was eliminated. And it allowed me to leave the company gracefully, but it allowed me to go into the next phase of my career, which ultimately was Ulta Beauty.
18 years, that's a very long time to stay in a company. That must have been a big transition going from Toys R Us to Ulta Beauty because those seem like 2 very polar opposites in products. So what was that transition like?
Well, after spending 18 years in retail, you understand the retail business. I had to learn the beauty business. I didn't know what mascara was at the time, but what I did know is how to sell a product in retail. So I was able to take all my experiences from Toys R Us and apply them to Ulta, and ultimately make a big impact. When I first started at Ulta, we only had 450 stores in the United States, and by the time I left, we had 1,320 stores. So we had some what I call explosive growth, and I was there during the whole time.
Can you tell us about your most proud accomplishment at Ulta Beauty?
Yeah, so Ulta was a great experience, as I mentioned. Some of the cool things I did while I was there, and this goes back to really having fun in what you're doing, I was able to take the partnerships that I made in Toys R Us with big companies like Disney and Marvel and bring them to the beauty space. And what I mean by that is back when the Avengers movies were really super hot, I said to my team, let's make an Avengers cosmetic line. And everybody thought I was crazy. My boss thought it wasn't going to work. But I said, this is going to be the biggest movie of all time. And sure enough, it was. So we came out, that really started the collaboration, bringing it to the beauty space. The Avengers program was really great. We did some Disney programs with Disney Princess and some movies like A Nightmare Before Christmas. We worked with Warner Brothers on Harry Potter. And then we did the TV show Friends, and we did all of them were really super successful. As a result, I kept saying to myself, nobody's doing nostalgia rock and roll, and I wanted to do some programs in the beauty space with rock and roll, which ultimately made me make the decision to leave and start my own company called Rock and Roll Beauty.
So that's taking it back to today and when you started Rock and Roll Beauty. So what made you really want to decide that entrepreneurship role?
Well, I think that's the key. It was I wanted to become an entrepreneur. After spending now 25 years in retail, I worked with a lot of small companies and made them really big. I mean, multi-million-dollar companies. So I said, it's time for me to kind of do that on my own. While I was at Ulta, I started kind of researching the idea. I put a business plan together, and I was able to search Rock and Roll Beauty domain was available for very little money. So I wound up buying that domain, and then started working with what's called the licensors to get the rights to some bands. So we launched just 6 weeks ago with Jimi Hendrix. We have Def Leppard coming at the end of June, which is going to be in every one of the Ulta stores across America. We're going to follow that up with Twisted Sister, and then we have Ozzy Osbourne coming for Halloween, which is going to be really cool because Ozzy does a lot of the gothic stuff during the Halloween time. So we're off to a great start.
That seems like a very fun time, and I'm guessing that you have listened to those bands for a while, and you love those bands.
Yeah, so I was able to take what my love for music. I've been to a ton of different concerts. I think I've totaled over 300 concerts in my time, and take that love and bring it to the beauty space and create beauty products with it, which is very unique to do that, but it is a niche market, which the idea behind it was to go after the fans. The fans of those bands are the ones that we're going after first. And then, of course, there's a beauty fanatic that loves just all kind of cool things. And nostalgia is super hot. So when you put all that together, it was really the idea behind the company.
Well, we're just about out of time, almost out of time. But can you give any last words of wisdom to students that are looking to plan out their future starting now?
Yeah, so you heard me talk about enjoying what you do. It's super important. Make sure you're having fun. The only way you're going to be passionate about something is to really enjoy what you're doing. If you're doing something for a period of time and you realize you're not having fun, it's time to try something else. But that's super important. It would be the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is to leverage your partnerships. Every one of my jobs that I got was because I knew somebody else. I went to them, they handed in my resume, I asked them about the position, and I was able to get the job. So there's a thing called LinkedIn. Once you get into college, you should check it out and try and make as many partners as you can. And then the last thing is really try and get some mentors in your life. For me, old bosses, maybe an old teacher, a friend that did very well in business. When time came that I had to make a decision and I wasn't sure about, you call up that mentor and you say, hey, what's going on? Here's what I'm kind of confronted with. What's your advice? And they'll steer you down the right path. So I think that's super important as well.
Well, thank you very much for coming. I found this conversation very interesting. I know I've learned a lot. I hope our viewers have learned a lot too. And once again, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Dominic Desiderioscioli with Nico Connection, and thank you for watching.